90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they worked so hard to establish. Today, our insurance agents work to protect all Virginians, not just farmers. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. More information is at farmbureauadvantage.com.
The remarkable soybean. From its oil, we get products like ink, candles, and paint. From its meal, we get a high-protein fiber used in foods and animal feeds. Natural soy is replacing chemicals and products you use every day. You can learn more about soybeans at vasoybean.com.
When we think of farming, most people think of cows and chickens, corn and soybeans, as well as milk and fresh eggs. But horticulture is a major component of our farm economy here in Virginia. This week we visit a balled and burlap tree operation in Louisa County, Virginia, that grows ornamental trees for clients in New England and all across the Mid-Atlantic region. We'll also explore the topic of women in agriculture. A recent survey indicates nearly 1/3 of all Virginia farmers are women. It's all straight ahead on this episode of Virginia Farming. I'm Jeff Ishii. Women are actively involved in agriculture, all aspects of Virginia agriculture. Sherry McKinney with Virginia Farm Bureau has a special report on the topic.
The latest statistics from the Census of Agriculture notes that 1 million women are working America's lands. That is nearly 1/3 of our nation's farmers. They have many roles in agriculture, including scientists, economists, foresters, veterinarians, and conservationists. Women are in the boardrooms and in the corner offices of international ag enterprises, and they are the owners and operators of many small family farms. These are women like Faye Hundley, who helps run her family farm, Cloverfield Farms, in Essex County, and was just elected the chairman of the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation Women's Committee. That makes her one of 15 farmers who set policy for the state's largest farm organization.
I didn't grow up on a farm. I married into farming, and I worked outside of the farm for many years, and just in the last 15 years, it's like farming's become my world, and I'm just engrossed in every part of it.
One of Hundley's roles as Women's Committee Chair will be to help coordinate hundreds of educational outreach programs each year in the Old Dominion, as well as raise funds for the Agriculture in the Classroom program. She represents the more than 21,000 women farming in Virginia. In fact, 32% of all Virginia farmers are women. The impact these women have on the state is huge. Farms run by women create more than $238 million for the state's economy.
We're third-generation farmers here, and my husband, his dad, his mom, his brother, the sister-in-law also works here, plus our children all work here on the farm, so we're blessed. With the farm and the size we are, there's always things to do. Just because we've gotten the crops in doesn't mean the farm shuts down. We do corn, soybeans, wheat, and barley. We also have hay.
The number of women farmers nationwide declined 2% in 2012 compared to 2007. There's no clear reason, but economists speculate the recession that began in 2008 hit many new farmers hard. While women were 14% of principal farm operators in the 2012 census, only 4% of women principal operators were younger than 35. Women who do find careers in agriculture, like Hundley, say that it's a life they wouldn't trade.
It's a totally different world than what I grew up in, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's just opened up so many opportunities, and I didn't realize you work so much with your family. I get to see my husband every day. You know, my father-in-law gave me the speech of, it's long hours, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week sometimes, and That's what it takes.
To increase the odds of women like Hundley and hundreds of others in Virginia to succeed in farming, the USDA has created a Women in Agriculture Mentoring Network. It's designed for women to connect, share stories, and share experiences with fellow women in agriculture. For information on joining the network, you can email your questions to agwomenlead@usda.gov. Reporting in Essex County, I'm Sherry McKinney.
Thank you, Sherry, for that report. Well, we recently traveled to Central Virginia to meet the operators of Spring Hill Nursery. Noel Richardson and Tim Burkett grow 200 acres of ornamental trees. It's coming up next on Ag Insights. Welcome to Mineral, Virginia in Great Louisa County in Central Virginia. I'm Jeff Ishii. This is Virginia Farming, and we're pleased to be on a very unique operation this week here at Spring Hill Nurseries in Mineral, Virginia. We're joined by Noel Richardson and also Tim Burkett. Tim, Noel, real pleasure to have you guys on our program, and thank you for inviting us to come out to your farm. I know that our viewers are going to see some things today that they've probably never seen before. Noel, give us an overall kind of big picture on what you do here at Spring Hill Nurseries.
So we grow shade and flowering trees. We grow them for the landscape. So basically we'll bring in our liners that would be 5 or 6 feet tall. They would come from Oregon first, then flowering mainly from Tennessee. Some of our native stuff comes from Florida and Texas. So it comes in, we plant it. It's about 2 to 5 years that we grow it. We try and grow, I would say, to say it simply, like an 8 to 10 foot tree. We would get there in, 2 to 5 years, and that's what we mainly ship.
This is a very important part of Virginia agriculture and horticulture. It's a multi-million-dollar business here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The trees that you will see as we walk around the nursery today are actually shipped all over the eastern United States, primarily, Tim, as you were telling me, in the Northeast, into New England.
Yeah, mostly we start kind of the Northern Virginia area and we go all the way into New Hampshire, Connecticut. Majority of our trees go on semis and go to re-wholesalers. We typically put 100 to 120 trees on a truck.
I'm thinking like a traditional farmer. Of course, it's always been said that farmers are always thinking 3 seasons ahead. You're thinking 3 to 5 years ahead, because what you put in the ground this year, you're not going to harvest until, let's take an example, a red maple, Noel. If you put it in the ground in 2017, when is it going to be shipped out to the final user?
2021 or 2020, something like that. Yeah, and so we've already ordered our trees to come in next fall. So really it's a little longer than that.
Well, you really have to be a planner to be in this type of operation. And Tim, again, going back to the big picture and the scope, roughly how many varieties of trees do you grow here, and on how many acres?
Right now we have 200 acres that's all drip irrigated out of 3 different ponds. We plant right now approximately about 125 different varieties of trees.
Wow, that's a lot of trees. And the most popular tree is what?
Red maple, I would say. But then, like Timmy was mentioning earlier, the black gum is one we're really known for. It's got that brilliant red color in the fall, and it's a native too.
You're going to actually dig for us today a red maple tree. Walk us through that process of what you're doing there.
Okay, so my spade that's on the machine you're seeing is a 33-inch spade. I can dig up to a 3-inch tree. What we're digging today is a 2.5-inch October Glory maple. It's going in a 28-inch basket. So I dig a little bit bigger root ball. That way we can kind of clean the top of it up. And after that, the burlap gets stapled around the tree. And then the actual wire basket gets tied up around the root ball itself to hold the structure of that soil together. We wrap a piece of felt around the trunk to protect it during shipping, and then we tie the branches up so they don't get broken during shipping also.
And there's a good chance that tree that we're seeing being dug today could end up in a lawn at a private residence in Connecticut.
Very good chance.
How long is that time frame that it's out of the ground? No.
So we'll start digging March 1st. So we'll start landing actually the furthest north and moving south. We'll probably land into Virginia last. So like, say somebody in Northern Virginia, their tree might land at, for instance, Merrifield Garden Center on April 1st. And then it just depends when they walk in the door, you know, and when they say, this is the tree that I want in my yard. So that tree, it could be April 2nd, the day that they walk in and say they schedule planting for that tree, or they could take it home with them, or we could, it could set there till next fall. A lot of times it seems like the shade trees, flowering is in the spring. That's what people are thinking about, but they still have those shade trees that have sort of, the roots are ready. It's sort of stabilized, you know, because when we dig that tree, we're cutting the roots. So then when it sets and it goes through the summer, it's actually becoming more stable. A freshly dug tree early in the spring, if it's got new shoots on it, can be a volatile thing.
Tim, let's talking again with our homeowners, and again, we're here at Spring Hill Nursery in Mineral, Virginia, in the beautiful Louisa County, Virginia. Our homeowners are thinking, okay, spring is kind of just around the corner. I might plant a maple tree or an oak tree, or so many different varieties. I believe you said over 120 different varieties of trees you grow here. When is the best time to plant that tree? Would it be spring, summer, or fall?
If you can get it in now, is pretty good. You know, the soil, it'll have time to kind of get settled in place and be ready. As soon as the soil starts warming up, those roots can grow. But really, fall is a great time to put in a shade and flowering tree. I wouldn't want to plant an evergreen in the fall because it continues to dry out all winter, and the roots may not be able to take up enough moisture. But the shade and flowering trees are great planted in the fall.
We also want to stress that this is not a retail operation. This is not a place you can come visit and purchase a single tree. You are a wholesale operation, and you're selling into, as you said, Northern Virginia, New England. How does your market fluctuate based on the economy?
So, yeah, so basically when we call it when dirt's being moved, when they're putting in subdivisions, when they're putting in roads, that means that, you know, 12, 18 months down the road, trees are going to be going down those streets. So that's probably the predominant driver, you know. So if real estate's doing really well, then we're probably doing really well. Now, at the same time, I think if you were to time like the financial crisis or whatever, we probably got another 12, 18 months past that where our business was pretty good because people are finishing those products. We're not the front end, we're the very back end. They have to buy that bush, you know, the day before they close.
People had already booked those trees, and then the stock market crashed.
Yeah, the projects were going already.
Yeah.
So you're watching a lot of different things in this business. Like I said, most farmers, row crop farmers, peanut, cotton, corn, soybeans, we're always thinking 3 seasons ahead. These guys are thinking into 2022. You're thinking way out into the future, and you're hoping that the economy will be fairly robust, I would think.
And we've planted the right trees today for what the demand is then.
Well, that's another thing. And you talk about trends and varieties of trees. Let's talk about that for a moment. We mentioned the Bradford pear. Very popular tree at one time, but not so much anymore. Is that correct?
Yeah, people have realized that the life expectancy of that tree is 12 or 15 years, and then I'm sure every homeowner or has seen or had one that half of it breaks off in the windstorm. And then even they talk about that it will reseed itself and is almost becoming a weedy, noxious type tree.
So what are the varieties that we're seeing that are trending up that you wish you had planted more of last year?
A big part of our market is native. So like if it was, so I think our most interesting natives would be like our black gum. I wish I had more persimmons right now.
Really?
All the hickory varieties. We're doing pig nut. We're doing shagbark. Those are the things. Chiananthus, which is fringe tree, that's another nice one. And then your commodity plants, cherries, maples, all the stuff that's just that you sell a lot of. That stuff is really good right now.
Now let's talk about challenges. With every farming or horticultural operation comes challenges. Sometimes it's pest control, sometimes it is the economy and tracking what's going on. But let's focus right now on pest control. I would think, boy, walking around a nursery like this would be a white-tailed deer's paradise. You've got water, you've got cover, isolated area, you've got hardwoods, and you've got plenty of habitat for white-tailed deer. Do they cause a lot of loss, Tim?
We do get damage mostly from rubbing. We don't see too much browsing in our nursery, but the rubbing and across the way, we do put tree guards on some of the trunks to discourage the deer from rubbing. There's also an active hunt club around. So.
Okay. How about other pests? No rabbits, groundhogs. Is there anything, even mowing with and hitting a tree with a brush hog or something? I guess there's a lot of things that can damage a tree.
Yeah, so I think there's some things in the cherries. Cherries, we're seeing it around here, that there's a lot of cherries that are defoliating prematurely. And I think that's like a leaf spot. And so the thing about things like that is you have to spray that first thing in the spring because it doesn't show right away. So it's like you have to spray preventatively to keep that out. With your dogwoods, there's anthracnose and and powdery mildew, and then borers in cherries and dogwoods. So we use all those people. We've got our inspector. I've got a really good relationship with our inspector, and he'll come in and he'll look at things. It's like when I see him coming around, I say, hey, would you take a look at this? Do you know what this is? He'll take samples. He'll take it to Richmond. They'll check on it. So I think that would be, and he's VDAX, right?
Right, VDAX, yeah.
And
I didn't know trees were inspected, and I can just about guarantee you, our friends at home, trees are inspected.
Yeah, at least once or twice a year.
For
just to be generally clean, I guess if there was a complaint at some point against us, then they would know, well, we've been there and we haven't seen that, or we've been there and we have seen that.
Okay. What are some other challenges that you face as owners of Spring Hill Nursery, Tim?
Well, all of our 200 acres, I think I said before, it's drip irrigated, and that's something for us. Like if I plant a tree, like some of my evergreens may come in early June, and we call it line out. We plant them in rows, and I'm able to put my drip irrigation right beside that and water them in well, where I don't have to wait on rain. So that's one of the factors that we try to control as well as we can. We all know that you can't control everything. But we had a buddy, a county over a nursery, and a hailstorm came through and scarred up his trees really bad from the hail. So you can do what you can do, but we're all still, it's working outside, and there's unknown variables.
For our viewers at home who want to get a little advice on the species to plant maybe in their yard, would you recommend their local extension office or a full service garden center would be the place to start?
Yeah, I think that the garden center, there's a lot of knowledge in those places, and those guys know the area, they know exactly the climate you're in, and they would definitely have the best list of plants that would work the best for that consumer.
Now, I understand that you've got a great website, by the way, but I understand that you are reworking it. Websites are always a work in progress,
right,
but
yeah.
If people go to your website, what would they see?
So I guess our website would just sort of, we have our availability on there. One thing that is sometimes can be a little confusing is we work in Latin. So, it's botanical names. It's not
Weeping
red
cherry.
maple. Yeah. So sometimes that can be a little bit confusing to work through. But it says where we started, where we're going, and yeah, again, our availability, that's the most important thing.
And keeping in mind, again, you're not a retail operation. People
Right.
are not going to come here and buy one tree, two trees. But anybody on the East Coast, especially from Richmond and north,
Yeah.
could end up having one of your trees in their yard.
Yeah.
Very interesting operation, and I want to thank you for inviting us out here. Good to see you again. Tim Burkett, Noel Richardson with Spring Hill Nursery in beautiful Mineral, Virginia. We'll be right back. Spring gardening season is not far away, and today we have a special segment on garden tools for people with disabilities. Chris Mullins tells us all about it from the ground up.
Hi, today we're talking about ergonomic tools that you might be able to use in your garden. And we're here with Joe Young. Joe's with Agribility Virginia. Hey Joe, how are you?
Fine, Chris. How you doing today?
Fine. Thanks for coming out here and talking with us today about some tools in your program. What does Agribility do?
Agribility is a program that's funded by USDA through land-grant universities. Virginia Tech is at land-grant university in Virginia.
Okay.
And the program is implemented through a service agency, which is Easter Seals. So it's a joint effort between Tech and Easter Seals in terms of reaching out to the farming community, but we also work with gardeners who have limitations as well.
Gotcha. So it's not just for farmers, although you work with farmers with combines and big equipment, but you also, a lot of the tools we're going to talk about today are adaptable to anybody that's gardening.
Anybody that's gardening, which is a aspect of farming.
Right.
Yeah.
And so people that might have a disability or have gotten older or some sort of limitation, some of these can help them with some of those things.
Oh yes, can help tremendously. This is an ergonomic tool, which means a tool that's different than the kind of tools that you normally would find on the market.
Okay.
And they are designed specifically with people who have limitations.
Okay.
For example, if you had a problem with your joints and your wrists,
Right.
you use this type of adaptation
Right.
with this tool where you slide that on and it keeps your arm straight and your wrist straight, which takes the pressure off your joints.
And then that cuff would be adaptable to all these different types of tools that we have
yes,
here.
it would be adaptable to all of them. Some of them are longer handle,
Right.
because you use longer handle tools for certain operations.
Right.
And then some have shorter handles because you use shorter tools in other settings.
That makes sense. And then I see this here, it's got kind of a long handle. This is for getting rid of weeds, right? Kind of moving it back and forth.
Yes, yeah.
But I noticed you were showing me earlier, this comes off here, this handle.
It comes off, yes.
And then again, that can go on a trowel to make it a longer handle,
Right.
or some of these other cultivators, even a rake. And I see this one here, like we talked about before with that cup, but it's built into this.
That's built in, so you don't have to add anything to it.
Right.
Just go in and
So if somebody had carpal tunnel, some of these kind of things would help them with
yes,
that.
it would help a great deal.
Well, I see you also have a long-handled piece for this, those same ends right here.
Yes, which will give you a greater reach. It's also easy on your back, so you can use any of these tools on this longer handle, and you can stand and take pressure off your back as you reach out. So it's keep you from bending and keep the pressure off your knees.
Joe, for some people, getting up and down, mobility that way is difficult. What kind of things do you use in that situation to help growers?
Yeah, there are different things that you can use. For example, this is one of the tools that you can use, which is a gardening tool that you can sit on, a gardening cot, and it has directional movement where you can
Steer the wheels, basically.
go in a direction you would like. You can sit in one spot and work.
Right.
Which makes a difference because a lot of people have knee problems, hip problems, or back problems, and problems getting up and down.
That makes sense.
So that's one of the tools that's available.
I see one here, it's a seat, it's kind of lightweight, that you can just sit on and scoot it real quick and move around the garden.
It's very lightweight, and because people don't have the ability to lift heavier things.
Right.
And so this makes a difference in terms of how they're able to work with the tools.
And I noticed this is something you could sit on or kneel, maybe even you can turn this over and kneel on it.
You can turn it over and kneel on it. It becomes a kneeler for people who have back problems, hip problems.
Right.
And they can kneel and do the work. If they want to use it as a seat, you can turn it up the other way, and then you can sit on it.
Right.
And also work with your tools from a sitting position. These tools are available at local hardware stores, some of them. Others you can find online by going online and Googling online, and you'll find the vendors out there that specialize in these particular tools.
Great. Thanks so much for talking with us again today, Joe. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, Chris.
Well, for more information about tools for the garden, contact your local county extension office and talk to a master gardener. For From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins. We'll see you next time.
Our pearl of wisdom this week comes from that great cowboy philosopher, Will Rogers, who once said, never miss a chance to shut up. And on that cue, I'll do exactly that. That does it for Virginia Farming this week. Have a great week, everyone. I'm Jeff Ishii.
90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they work so hard to establish. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. Anyone can be a Farm Bureau member, and there's a local Farm Bureau in every county. More information is at vafarmbureau.org.
Virginia soybean farmers are hard at work growing soybeans to produce products you use every day. Candles, soaps, even crayons can be made from soybeans. Remember, when you buy soy, you're helping to support American jobs, the economy, and our nation's energy security.